Have you ever been sitting in a room that's completely, totally silent, and it almost feels loud? Today, we're going to dive into why so many of us crave that constant background hum just to feel normal, and what it tells us about how our brains are actually wired. Seriously, think about it for a second. Do you need a podcast playing while you're in the shower, or the TV on while you're making dinner? Maybe you've got a white noise machine you can't sleep without? If the thought of just pure, uninterrupted quiet makes you feel a little antsy, a little uncomfortable, well, you are definitely not alone. You're in good company. We tend to think of noise as a distraction, right? Something that gets in the way. But what if, for a lot of us, it's not a distraction at all? What if it's a tool? The big idea we're exploring here is that background noise can act as a kind of mental shield, protecting our minds in ways we don't even consciously realize. So here's the bottom line. From a psychological point of view, background noise is really a buffer. It's this layer of sound that we intentionally put between ourselves and, well, the sometimes chaotic, unfiltered world that's going on inside our own heads. Okay, so let's get into it. What is the first huge psychological reason we do this? It's actually pretty straightforward. We use noise to get a break from our own thoughts. When everything goes completely quiet, your brain doesn't have much else to latch onto except that voice in your head, your internal monologue. And let's be honest, for a lot of us, that monologue can be a pretty stressful, busy place to hang out. See, background noise gives your brain just enough light work to keep it occupied. And that's really important because it stops what psychologists call rumination. When you get stuck in that mental loop, worrying about past mistakes or anxieties about the future. A little bit of external sound acts like a circuit breaker, stopping your brain from spiraling down those darker paths. All right, our second reason taps into something really fundamental, something deeply social, our deep-seated need to push back against loneliness. For so many of us, especially if you live alone or work from home, sound can create a sense of social presence. It can literally make us feel less alone in a room. Think about having your favorite comfort show on in the background or a podcast you love. It's not just noise, it's the illusion of company. It makes your space feel more lived in, warmer, and it fights back against that deafening quiet that can really crank up feelings of isolation. It's kind of like having people over without any of the pressure to actually socialize. Now, get ready for reason number 3, because this one is going to sound completely backward at first. For some people, more noise can actually lead to more focus. So what in the world is going on here? Well, this explains something that many people experience, especially those with ADHD. It's called the optimal arousal theory. The basic idea is that a brain that's understimulated is just going to go searching for something, anything, to latch onto, which of course leads to distraction. But a steady, predictable background noise, like a fan or some lo-fi music, gives the brain a baseline of stimulation, which frees it up to lock in and focus on the important task at hand. Okay, reason number 4 is where we stop being passive about this and start taking control. We can actually use sound to consciously hack our own mood. We do this all the time, probably without even thinking about it. We're using sound as a form of emotional regulation. Just like you might use careful words to de-escalate a tense situation with another person, we use sound to de-escalate the tension inside ourselves. And the process is actually super simple, right? It's basically 3 steps. First, you just acknowledge how you're feeling. Feeling kind of sluggish and in a slump? Okay. Step 2, select your sound. Maybe you put on some upbeat pop music to get your energy up. Feeling totally wired and anxious after a long day? Maybe you choose some calming lo-fi beats. And boom, step 3, you regulate your emotion. We are literally curating our own personal soundtracks to manage our moods. And that brings us to our 5th and final reason, and this one is all about conditioning. It's about what our brains have been taught over years and years to believe is normal. For a lot of us, it really boils down to this. Our brains are just wired to believe that a certain level of ambient noise is normal, and when that familiar sound disappears, it feels like something is off, like something is wrong. If you grew up in a big, busy household or in a loud city, your brain learned to associate that constant hum with safety and life going on as usual. So when you experience total silence, it's an anomaly. It can actually trigger a subtle fight or flight response because your brain is saying, wait, this isn't right. For your brain, noise just equals normal. So as you can see, this need for noise isn't just some random quirk. It's a really complex psychological tool we use for focus, for comfort, and even for a sense of safety. Which really leads to the big question, what's your personal soundtrack? No, really, take a second and think about it. Are you a TV in the background person, a podcast while cleaning person, or maybe you're all about those ambient sounds, like rain or a crackling fire? Just understanding your own pattern is the first step to using it more intentionally. So just remember, this isn't really about avoiding silence. It's about finding the right sound that helps your mind find its own version of peace. Because at the end of the day, sometimes the noise we choose, well, that's the quiet our mind truly needs.